Hey horror fans, welcome to another episode of Road 237 Presents Reslashed, the show where I take a horror classic, its modern day remake, I compare them, see which one's better, and ultimately if the remake even needed to happen. And the question about this episode will be, does this episode even really need to happen? Because I'm doing Alfred Hitchcock's 1960 Psycho and Gus Van Zant's 1998 Psycho. Now, I know the point of the show is to do remakes from 2003 to present because Michael Bay's 2003 Chainsaw Massacre is the film that really opened the floodgates to just this whole era of non-stop remakes where everything is remade. And you had remakes prior to that, but they were more random. They were more so B movies, remaking B movies rather, like The Thing, The Fly, The Blob. Even though the originals, all those are classics. This is just such a universally panned movie, and this is such a universally loved movie. I figured it's got to be an interesting episode, even though it's obvious how it's gonna fucking turn out. One, the cast. Ha! Yeah. Norman Bates. Played by Anthony Perkins. One of the greatest, most interesting portrayals of all time. A guy where in one conversation, in one scene, can be timid and shy, but still very polite and sweet and charming, to very intense and standoffish. Very intimidating. And then go right back to being all smiles and everything. Oh, sorry. And then Norman Bates, you have Vince Vaughn. Of course, this was before he became a comedy actor. But, just one note, the whole movie, fucking weirdo. After everything. Well, a boy's best friend is his mother. Yeah. I'm not going to add any mystery or intrigue to the most interesting and intriguing characters in film history. I'm just going to be weird the whole fucking time. Mary Crane, Janet Leigh, and Anne Heche. Someone who, one of the best actress performances by a truly classic actress. A woman who is stuck in a rut. Her life is stuck in this one place, and if only she had the means to get out of it and get on this path that is so close. She finds a way to get there, but it's from stealing. So she's conflicted. You're conflicted. You sympathize with her, but at the same time, you're like, no, don't do that. That's wrong. You feel her paranoia. You feel happy for her that, she finally has a chance. And then, towards the end of her part in the film, when she's like, I have to go return the money. You're like, oh, she has an arc. She's like, she's going to correct her wrongs. Anne Heche. Same traits. She's stuck in a rut. If only she had the means. But she's just a miserable bitch. She's just a bitch the whole movie. Doesn't give you any reason to sympathize with her or root for her. She's uninterested in everything. She's as one note as Vince Vaughn. But I will say the supporting cast, okay. Yeah, I do like Vera Miles. Yeah, I do like John McIntyre. Yeah, John Gavin is a little too wow, what's going on here? I can only take so much, huh? He's not as 40s gangster as that, but yeah. And that is a common complaint, that the supporting cast is kind of bland. Whereas in this, yeah, they're more, it is a little bit more modern, they're acting a bit more natural. Julianne Moore actually does something with the character of Lila. Yeah, Viggo Mortensen does give Sam Loomis a bit more of a personality. William H. Macy actually does a great job as Investigator Arbogast. So yeah, the supporting cast is actually pretty fucking decent. But when you look at Anne Heche and Vince Vaughn, where they are so terribly miscast and so off and so bad in this film, that those decent, viable performances seem great. They seem as good as Perkins and Lee in this film. So yeah, even though, supporting cast not as great, supporting cast pretty damn good. Overall, I gotta go with, they are the opposite end of the spectrum. Perkins and Lee are just as perfect and good in this, and well cast in this film, as Vaughn and Heche are terrible, off, and miscast in this film. Complete 100% polar opposites. Cast goes to this. Alright, the effects. Well, there aren't really any effects. I will say that the Arbogast's death, getting the cut in the face and falling down the stairs in that weird dreamlike state, did feel more natural in this. And the shower scene was a bit more believable in this, because you never see knife penetrate flesh. And with this, it just feels, in this you believe someone's being stabbed. Even though Janet Leigh's just kind of turning in the shower and someone's just going like this. Like, it looks silly. Or, if you were to reenact it, it would be silly. But with editing and the music and everything, it's way more believable. And it does look silly in this. So neither one's really an effects film, but this one works across the board. Atmosphere. Okay, well, this movie has no atmosphere whatsoever. This one, you really get that, because it opens up in Phoenix, Arizona, and there's a lot of driving. There's a lot of, desert scenery. When she gets to the Bates Motel, it really does feel like, the last stop to nowhere. Like, the place that time has forgot. Like, the highway came in and it shoved them away. Isolation. Especially, the scenes where Norman, after he watches her through the peephole and he goes upstairs he goes up to the house to sit at the kitchen table, and you get, this is how he lives every day. So yeah. And, you're really immersed, the whole cleanup scene after the murder. It's okay, you're in this room with this guy. It's almost like you're watching him clean up a murder. You're there with him. Saying, dude, what do we do? How do we get out of this? And then he takes care of it for you. You really do feel like you're in the room with the guy. This has nothing. Scares. Okay, well, here's a good example. I didn't see this movie till I was about 19 or 20. But I knew about Psycho. I knew about Norman Bates. I knew the twist. And when I finally saw it, it was so well done that even though I knew Norman Bates was the killer, and I knew he dressed up as his mother, that when I still saw the ending of him running down to the fruit cellar, and there's that reveal of he's the one dressed up as mother, and with the music and everything, I was still kind of like, oh, Jesus. It still got me. It was a good job, movie. That's how scares work. The shower scene, the way the light is, it's black and white, so it's easier to silhouette the face. But if you look carefully, you can still see these eyes bulging out through the shadows, and it's fucking eerie. This has none of that. It's all fucking goofy. The way we hear Mother's voice. it's sort of like nails on a chalkboard. With this, it just sounds goofy and silly. That's all I can give this fucking movie. Killer. Huh. Well, everything I said about cast, about Perkins and Vaughn, yeah. He's a guy who, he's a little timid. He's a little off. But he's charming. He's very polite. But, you really can't put your finger on what is off about him. Even when he watches her through the peephole, watches her, get ready for a shower, it's like, okay, that's kind of weird, a little pervy, but he does it in such a way that, he just goes right upstairs, right up to the house, and he just sits at the dinner table. It's almost like a childlike innocence. He's just curious. But that's what makes it interesting. The fact that he can do something like that and we're still kind of like almost sympathizing with him. With this, Vince Vaughn, there's nothing to him. He looks goofy. He acts like a goon. Just always... you can buy, and then even at the end, where Norm is just sitting there with the blanket, and he just kind of... It looks like a lost boy sitting in front of, a principal's office. Just like... Then, Mother completely takes over. He just looks up and he does that smile. It's like, okay, you buy this guy's twisted. You buy he's messed up. With this, it's like, okay, I get he's weird, but I doubt he could ever kill someone. He's too much, he's just a weirdo. Nothing to Norman Bates in this movie. One of the greatest and most interesting performances of all time. The score. Okay, well, here's a big one. The score is exactly the same. Music cues, what music is used, exactly the same. Now, even Alfred Hitchcock was going to do this movie with no music because he thought it'd be more realistic, suspenseful, and scary. Bernard Herrmann wrote the score anyways, like, well, try this out. And it was the shower scene. And Alfred Hitchcock, even Hitchcock says this movie is, I think he says about 70% you. Your music makes this movie. The music in this movie doesn't amplify any scenes, doesn't add anything. It just feels like it's there because it's supposed to be. The dun 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 dun, like when she's driving away from the cop on the highway. It feels like it's there. It feels like it's put there just because it was there in this scene. But when you hear the dun 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 dun, it adds anxiety, suspense. This movie uses a score for everything it's worth, and it works out perfectly. This music just feels like it's there because it's supposed to be. Now, the necessity. Okay, so which one is better? That is fucking obvious, this one. I can barely even call this a movie. I mean, okay, technically it is. There's a script, there's actors, beginning, middle, and end. It is a movie. But it was literally... There's never any reason why there should be a shot-for-shot remake of anything. It's completely pointless. Like I said in my review for this film, it's either going to be, at best, it's going to be as good, but still, why am I watching this? And the reasons why it was made are all bullshit. Actually, no. The only time a shot-for-shot remake should be acceptable is if you're a film student and it's like your final exam or something, to show that you can recreate something as perfectly done as this, to show you understand the art of filmmaking. Okay. take the scene with the sandwiches. That's not just two people in a room eating sandwiches and having a conversation. You know, there's the positioning of the camera. You know, what Anthony Perkins is shot, you know, at an upward angle to make it look more imposing. The way the lighting is. The way, you know, certain shots are close up while some are further back. Depends on how intense the conversation is. Little tidbits of music put over certain parts of the conversation. Okay, yeah. There's a lot that goes in to understanding how a scene is effective. Like this. To do shot for shot, yeah, a film student can do that. It can, I mean, they should be allowed to. But to be given millions of dollars to make a movie that's going to be released in theaters that people have to pay to see is unacceptable. It was like, well, because no one, kids today haven't heard of Psycho. So, spread awareness about it. You know, try to get it re-released. Host a festival and show it. Or something. Make references. Make a movie that's inspired by Psycho. You know, for years, Brian De Palma tried to find his Psycho. Because he's a suspense director, and he's a big fan of Hitchcock. He was inspired by Psycho. He tried to make his own Psycho without remaking Psycho. Or your kids won't watch it because it's black and white. Well, they're fucking lost. I know people that won't watch movies because they're black and white, and I think that's a shame. Or I wanted to see if I could take this movie 100%, make a carbon fucking copy, mirror image, and see if I get the same reaction. See if it will be as good. No, people shit on it because they thought it was pointless, and the most important casting, the two leads, are two of the worst casting decisions ever made in film history. And then there was that other reason to how I remade it so no one else has to. Which is some pettiness I kind of admire. Like, I'll remake it, and I'll purposely make it pointless and shitty that no one will ever like it, so they can always just go to this film. Either way, it's all bullshit. Like, there are remakes that I fucking hate, that I fucking despise. But I will say, this is the most pointless remake. If you're gonna do shot for shot, the exact, literally, you know, he also made the point of plays, like, you know, Hamlet, Romeo and Juliet, Sweeney Todd, have been around for generations. Those actors stop playing those characters. They get a whole new roster of actors, and it transcends time. And maybe like little things are added over generations, like Norman Bates masturbates in this one. They changed the amount of money that Marion Crane steals to make it, you know, little nuances to make it modern. This isn't a play. So every reason so as I was saying, yeah, there are remakes that I really hate. Like The Hitcher, The Omen, Black Christmas, The Fog. But I don't find them to be as pointless, because you're literally just making the same fucking movie. It's a waste of money, studio, and theater patrons. Completely fucking pointless. I would say of all the remakes, this is the one that deserved the least to be made. This is the only Psycho we need. And I like most of the sequels. Psycho. Yeah. Fuck that remake. Completely fucking pointless. Anyway. I actually had fun doing this episode because they're so polar opposites. But, yeah. So, the winner of this episode of Reslashed was pretty fucking obvious. But, anyway, thank you for watching.